Minister Marjorie Cutter. Recently, I have been given the opportunity to travel as a missionary, a place that I knew God had always called me to, but was never able to go abroad. So there were 4 ministries that were together as ministers, and that in itself was an amazing collision, to be able to go out together with guidance from the pastors that were local and pastors that were also from the U.S. When we arrived at the airport, we had no idea that we would be greeted by the president of Kenya. But we were greeted by the president of Kenya, and he sent us out. Once Pastor Madreen and Pastor Dixon told them who we were, he said, go out. You're missionaries from the United States. Go out and do the work of the Lord. So just having his blessing itself, I'm talking about the president. Now, I ain't just talking about anybody, I'm talking about the president of Kenya. I remember specifically going to the men's prison. Years ago, I said I would never go into any prison anywhere. I remember when I was a little girl, when I was about 8 years old, 7 or 8, 10 maybe, every time we went to the prison or the jailhouse, I would be sick. I was not going there. So when they told us we were going to the prison, I just laughed, because I said, God, you're funny, because you got me going somewhere that I said I would never go. Some of the prisoners did not have places to sleep. They didn't have adequate clothes. Some of the resources are taken before they even get to the prisoners. So we actually took them food, and we took them toiletries. And the prison was set up like an open air forum. There was no roof. And they were doing praise and worship when we came in, and they were praising God just like they were on the outside. And there was no bondage within that setting. And there were 108 of those 400 prisoners that gave their life to Christ right then. So I was thankful to God that we were able to translate God, even in a prison. We went to the children's home that Voice of Grace supports. There were 45 children in the home. There was one that was 3 years old and had a sister that was 6 years old, and their parent had died. Notice I said parent, because it was their mother that died. No one knows where the father is. When we were able to give the caretakers food and the supplies that we had put together to take to them, I was so grateful, but I couldn't speak a word. These children were so grateful for us coming and just walking on the land that they lived on. These children were A and B students. I just can't imagine not having a parent, at least one, that was there to hold me when I was cold, or love on me when I was sad. It really touched me that these children, not having a parent, knowing their own story, and still striving for excellence. That was an amazing thing to me that touched my heart, and I will never, ever forget it. One night, we were coming back from our assignment, and Pastor Madreen said, you're gonna do devotion in the morning. I just let the Holy Spirit do what he did. I told him, I said, we're gonna worship this morning. That's what God is calling me to, and we're gonna do that. So we worshiped, honey, we worshiped. I mean, we worshiped. Pastor Madrine came out and she said, this is not a normal missions. She said, this is different. She gave us her testimony about how she would never go back to her village once she left. And when we got to her village and saw the love of God and the people receiving us, it was amazing. And then we went to the crusade, and Pastor Madrine preached like a mad woman to the community, called souls to Christ right there. And I said, that was one of God's purposes for us to be there, for her to go back to her village, for her to see increase, even in her family. So God blessed us to be able to go to Dubai. We flew into Dubai early in the day, and they had given each and every one of us a voucher for a room, a hotel room. We had our own space. That was amazing to me. I could have stayed right in that little room and I would have been just fine, but I was so anxious to get out and to see what this thing was about, what Dubai is about. And Dubai, which is one of the richest countries in the world, has made an island that's in the shape of an olive leaf. But also inside the mall, they had a huge aquarium that probably was 4 stories. And I say 4 stories because the aquarium went from the bottom floor all the way up to the top floor where all of the shops were. On one side, all you could see is the wildlife. It was such a beautiful thing. Inside the aquarium, you could go and view inside the aquarium, but they had a zoo underneath the aquarium in Dubai. I mean, amazing. Amazing. We did not have enough time to go through the zoo. Even in the mall, us as missionaries took opportunity to introduce Christ to people. So we weren't yet off the mission field. We still had work to do. God blessed us to be able to say that we had 282 souls to come to Christ. And maybe a few more than that. We recorded the ones when we were actually in Africa, but there were more that were giving their life to Christ as we walked through the malls, as we went through the airports. There were people we were interacting with, and they wanted to know who we were and what we had for them. And so what we had was the love of Christ. It was an amazing trip, and I am so grateful that God allowed me to be able to travel 20 hours. I am so grateful to Flowing Life, the Flowing Life family, for being able to contribute into this ministry, to give me the opportunity to go and represent you on the other side of the world. So I'm just grateful to God that He even brought up the name Flowing Life on the other side of the world. We might have to add that International Ministries in there somewhere, Pastor Ty. It's not over. It's just beginning. And we're hoping that next year we're going to have bunches of people wanting to go. So get your passports ready, because God is calling us to the other side of the world.